One of the things that frequently um, concerns me, or is a kind of a lifelong issue of mine, is the importance of love and the generally vague, nondescript, non-careful uh, use of the word. It shows up everywhere. It shows up carelessly. It's rarely defined. People often presume they're loving. People often presume that there's no kind of self-discipline or training involved in the development of this capacity, and yet even the simplest capacity, like how to change the oil in your car or something like that, um, people understand that not everybody can do it instantly, and yet people presume themselves capable of love uh, without any sense of needing to work on it or train it or develop it. And similarly, there's I rarely hear any very careful or close analysis of this absolutely all important dimension or element in our lives. So it's not only the mere lack of a sense that this is a capacity that needs personal self-development and training, and that it can be done better or poorly, etc. But also another thing that is a constant concern of mine is the other kind of seeming lack of any sense that the issue needs to be described with any clarity. Or So anytime I come across investigation into making this concept, which I describe as all important, more clearly defined, it attracts me. So this morning I was reading a piece in which a couple of sentences read, "When a man feels love, the feeling is not generated on its own. The feeling awakens in his heart because of a particular woman. Likewise, the fire of love is kindled in the heart of a woman, not by herself alone, but by the man she loves." In other words, our love belongs to our partner. Thus, we should honor our partner's love as being even more precious than ours. So there's the first part of it. It's recognizing or introducing a notion that the fact that our love is awakened by the presence or emergence or even constant presence of another makes that individual in certain key ways more important in the entire equation than our love. In a certain way, it's a kind of a play on ownership or possession. Who owns our love, or who is the origin of our love? When it's radically inside the other, it seems to be more consonant with what the very nature of love is, and that is a complete surrender and devoted embrace and gratitude, incessant gratitude for the other. Then a couple of lines down, or a little later in what I read, the same figure writes or says, "True love comes through both horizontal and vertical reciprocal relationships. A horizontal relationship of true love is gradually elevated in a vertical direction until it eventually reaches the pinnacle. And in this position, everything is synthesized, everything is embraced, everything is crystallized into love, and everything blooms. This is why all beings in the universe want to be transformed in love and live in the midst of love. We are born for the sake of love, to live for the sake of love, and finally to die for the sake of love." That the thing that I wanted to point out or take note of in that particular second part of the reading is the idea that, so we first introduce that the other is the origin of our love. It brings, it gives birth to it in certain ways, and then that love, our conjugal passions, our unbound attraction and longing for the object of our love, that is in a way a horizontal love. It's because it's characterized by radical equality. My love partner is equal to me, at least, if not greater, but it's side by side. We're side by side. There's none above the other, higher or better or greater than the other. So in the ideal sense, it's perfectly horizontal in its quality. But we all know that there's also a vertical quality, a vertical dimension to life. That is that which is immediately above me or greater than me or higher than me, or that to which I surrender in a positional dimension, in a vertical dimension, in which I acknowledge that the object of my love is higher than me. For spiritual and religious people, it's often their teacher, their guru, their gateway, the individual who mediates the absolute in our lives. For Christians, it would be Jesus. And for various other practices, we have the function of something clearly directly above and higher than us. There's not inequality. There is a certain form of inequality, but there's not any tyranny or oppression there. It's only our delight, and it's a form of love. So that's always present. So how do these two things relate to each other? How does a perfectly horizontal love, a conjugal love, relate to the fact and the ever-presence of a perfectly vertical love, especially for people with spiritual sensitivity? What I just read just now is that the horizontal ascends up like the pole or the thread or the line. It ascends vertically. It's actually directional. The paired bond of horizontal love, the conjugal love, is not just a static or aimless relationship, but rather it traverses a very specific and exact line, every bit as directional as our horizontal love. And so as a couple, we are moving upward, upward, upward. We're never the same 2 days in a row. It's not a purposeless relationship. It doesn't just simply delight in the fact of loving one another, but that love brings us higher, 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 until the maturation and development, evolution, and quality of our love ascends to a pinnacle. It ascends to a bond with the origin of love. For theists, it's God. God is love. And there's no reason that my love for my wife should be anything other than moving toward that pinnacle, that center. If my wife and I can say we are love, it should be we are love, not we have love, but we are love. So says God. God is love. So our bond ascends in a vertical movement. It grows as we invest in one another, and then finally this synthesis at the pinnacle is identified as the wellspring of that very love to which all things on earth aspire. So thanks for listening. I guess this one was about the structure and dynamics of love, trying to get to some specifics about the matter, not just a constant vague allusion or attribution. Thanks a lot for listening.